Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Holloway and welcome to the campus tour portion of our online open day. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd love to be able to give you an experience of our wonderful, wonderful campus from the comfort of your own home. It's quite chilly here, so to be honest with you, I'm extremely jealous. Get yourself a cup of tea and coffee and listen to me prattle on about this lovely place. So we've started off the tour up here on the balcony of our library building, the Emily Wilding Davison building. We'll be having a little explore of that in a moment, but I think it's nice just kind of taking the view, you know. Royal Holloway, voted by the Sunday Times to be the most beautiful university in the United Kingdom, and to be honest with you, I definitely, in my completely unbiased opinion, agree. We've got the beautiful Founders Building behind us. We'll have a little explore of that a little bit later on in the tour, and that is really the centrepiece of the university. But where we are now is a very recent addition to the university, just opened up in October of last year. So I think, should we have a little wander around? All right, come on down, guys, come on down. There's a lot less steps for you guys, so as I say, very, very jealous. You don't have to do much exercising to walk around today. So, just behind us, you can kind of figure out a little bit about our location. So, I appreciate you won't be able to see because of not having a massive telescope with us, but just in the background over behind us, you can see Wembley Arch. You can see the City of London itself with the Shard. In that direction, you can just about make out Stealth from Thorpe Park, which is kind of painfully close during exam time. And as I say, we're kind of in the middle of kind of the countryside here, with London 40 minutes away by train, and beautiful kind of country spots like Virginia Water and Windsor. Great park, that is, with all of its wonderful deer, about a 15-minute walk in kind of that general direction over there. Enough about that though, let's actually check out the campus itself. So we'll go on inside. I am getting a little bit chilly. I didn't bring any gloves with me today, so I'm stuck with this. So this building here is our library, but it also houses a couple of other functions we'll check out on the ground floor. Our university has a hair over 10,000 students currently, as of the latest recruitment cycle, and we can fit about an eighth of them into this building here, all seated in the library configuration. About 1,250 study spaces available, separated into group study areas and into silent study areas. So whether you're writing an essay or doing the reading for an essay, not all of it will be based around essays, I can assure you. We do some other things as well, but also group work. There's a lot of football study rooms with computers, TVs and all the works for you guys to be able to put together a group presentation or something. So it tends to be kind of all the silent study spaces are kept over on that side of the building, and we keep all of the group spaces on this side. So this is a three-storey building. The top two floors are mostly dedicated to library spaces, and the bottom floor is mostly kind of like a communal area for all of our students, and we'll go and check it out. We'll get it's a little bit easier. Come on in. You can also be introduced to Christmas and Easter periods. Just over in this corner over here, we've got a cafe on the square. We'll get a better view as we go around later on. That is our on-campus Starbucks. So to be honest with you, it's the only thing that kept me going through my dissertation at least. Just over here we have the Student Services Centre, and this is where, as a student, if you do have any queries whatsoever, whether that be kind of academic based, finance based, literally anything you can think of, I pop in there definitely a couple of times a term, because I still haven't figured this whole university thing out. That's all managed from in there. They're fantastically helpful. You can call, drop them an email, or drop in person to get an answer. In the back right-hand corner over there, you can't quite make it out there, but there's a corridor down to the Student Union shop. That is a kind of convenience corner store run by our Students' Union. All of the employees are students, so if you are looking for a part-time job on campus, that's one of the places you can go. And in the back right-hand corner over there, we have our Careers and Employability Service. You can't quite see it from the angle that we're at, unfortunately, but rest assured, it is there. It's one of the most important places, particularly for our graduating students. I have been reliably informed that when I leave here, I will have to get a real job in the real world. Very much looking forward to it. But I've consulted them a fair few times when it comes to finding the correct kind of jobs, helping me with applications, all things like that, and that's all based over there. Now, I've got too warm and comfortable in here, so unfortunately we have to go back outside again and see some more of the campus, so come on down. You can see some other tour groups being given tours today. It's a very busy time for us, of course, with the academic recruitment cycle. So thank you very much for, as I say, joining part of the online open day. But if you do fancy applying and coming along and visiting us in person later on in the year, we are running 3 applicant visit days in the new year, all for people that have applied to us and received an offer. You can book on and come and join us, find out a bit more about your department, get a real physical campus tour where there will be walking involved, unfortunately. All that can be handled then. So as I say, if you are interested, if I've managed to kind of pique your interest over the course of this tour, you're more than welcome to join us. We can door if you want. I don't know how well that would work out. No, that's too boring. So, as I say, this whole area was just opened up in October of last year. It's got 12.6 kilometres of shelving, as I say, about 400,000 books, more than enough to keep any student entertained, no matter what. But kind of one of the more physically impressive things is the building itself. So we'll get a little bit of a better view of it as we come away here. But what we have in front of us is the Founders Square. And this was opened up at about the same time as the kind of the library behind us. And this is kind of one of the big centerpieces of the university now. Beautiful open space. We're using it well now with the Christmas tree. But last week we did have a Christmas festival. Loads of kind of Christmas gifts. Reindeer, most importantly, came to visit. It really brightened up my day. But say all that's done here. It's a beautiful space for us to kind of use for big events. On the very first weekend of the year, in fact, we did Cycle Cinema, which is kind of a big cinema. We watched Greatest Showman on a huge screen about there. And to keep it powered, you have to cycle. There's about 12 or 14 bikes. And somebody has to be on them at all times in order to keep it going. So as I say, it's a lovely little space. We do try and throw some really cool events to make the most of it. Well, let's have a little look away with the new and the glass and the metal and back to the old a little bit. Royal Holloway is most known for the Founders Building. It's behind us, and we'll go a little bit more into the history of the university now. So, Royal Holloway was officially opened in 1886 by Queen Victoria, and that's kind of where the Royal and Royal Holloway comes from. And originally it was designed to be a university just for the higher education of women. At the time, they were very few and far between. And in fact, we did merge with the first higher education institute to offer education for women in the UK, the Bedford College, and they were founded in 1849. So our kind of educational kind of first extend quite far back. The Holloway in Royal Holloway comes from the founder of the university and his wife, Thomas and Jane. Thomas was a Victorian philanthropist and businessman, and between them they had no children. So instead of leaving their money to the government in a will, they decided to will it to the nation in a kind of broader aspect. They put up £500,000 to the founding of this university. It was all entirely his wife's idea. She's the brains behind the operation. He was definitely the finance. And as I say, unfortunately, Thomas did not make it to see the university officially opened. However, the legacy was continued on by his brother at the time. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. 1886, and we're still doing pretty good. So at the time, this was one of the only buildings that existed on campus. It was where all of the ladies of the time slept, ate, studied. There is a chapel. There is also a picture gallery. We'll check those out in just a second. But as I say, at the time, it was kind of the only thing going. We've obviously expanded a little bit since then. But nowadays, about 550 of our students live in this building. It is one of, believe it or not, it is one of our accommodation blocks. We do let students live in it. I came around. So I had the pleasure of living it in my first year. It's absolutely fantastic. There is no experience quite like it. And everybody else will be extremely jealous of you for the rest of your university career. So we'll go and check it out. We'll point out a few things along the way as well. The Founders Building is still very much part of the Royal Holloway experience. You can't walk anywhere on campus without seeing it. It is very much kind of a big part of our life still. And you will endlessly take pictures of it for as long as you're here. Your Instagram will probably get very, very full of it. I know mine certainly is. But there you go. So we'll check it out a little bit. Trying to think of some interesting Founders-based facts now for you. I'm struggling. You'll see when we go in there, the corridors are exceptionally wide. This is because at the time, Victorian ladies wore these kind of big billowy skirts with the wire metal frames underneath, and the corridors were sized so that one lady could walk in one direction, one could walk in the other, and they wouldn't have to do kind of an awkward shuffle to get past each other in the corridor. If everybody got through that quite safely. But there you go, as I say, so when you compare it to a lot of other accommodations, it's very roomy, nice high ceilings, pretty good, pretty good. But right, we'll come on up this way. So what we're going to go past up here is the health centre. Most universities do have a health centre. We're very lucky in that ours is literally slap bang right in the middle of campus, in the thick of it. When I was going to the health centre when I was ill a few times my first year, I literally didn't have to go outside to get there, which certainly helped me out a little bit there. I could turn up with my slippers But it is a fully staffed GP surgery with doctors and nurses to kind of deal with absolutely anything. So even if, for example, well, as I say, because they're part of a university, they're very, very good at dealing with the university-related side of things, whether that be meningitis vaccines and things like, say, for example, you're ill and you miss an assessment. They know all the correct kind of forms and procedures that can help you through that. While we're here, we might as well check out the kind of what the library looks like from here. Absolutely stunning. As I said, I'm in my 4th year here now, doing a master's. So, you know, I had to wait for this to get built, but it was certainly worth the wait, I'll be honest. Absolutely adore it, and I spend way too much time in there these days. Lovely. All right then, so we're just going to head up actually into the Founders Building itself. I'll stop talking about it and I'll actually show it to you now. Oh wow. Thank you. Go away. Looks a little bit dark compared to outside. Lovely. Right, so this here on the right hand side, this is the health centre. You can literally book appointments within probably, the closest I've ever done is that day. I've walked in and got an appointment for that afternoon. So as I say, very, very useful, very handy to have right on campus. What we'll do now is, the Founders Building is a little bit of a weird one, I'll be honest with you. They didn't make it very easy for new students to figure out their way around. It's kind of in a figure of 8 shape. So we have these two in the middle, and we're not too pretentious about the grass. During the summertime, it's often filled with students. Sorry about the squeaky door, I don't know if you can quite hear me there. But as I say, during the summertime, all I do is put off worrying about exams and assessment. There we have Queen Victoria, as I say, immortalised in statue. And I just think it's very genuinely impressive. So as I say, this is the north quad. We do have a south quad just the other side of this kind of middle dividing barrier. This here actually is the dining hall. So all of the students that live in this building, this is catered accommodation block. So all the students that live in here eat their meals in that building. I really certainly myself, I don't know if that tells you more about the dining hall or more about me. But there you go. You have a variety of my cooking repertoire these days. But what we've got just over here, so on this side, we've got the get a better view in just a second. And just on the other side, its kind of mirroring counterpart, that is the Royal Holloway Picture Gallery, and that houses Thomas Holloway's original art collection. We're going to go and check those out now, so you're all with me. When we're doing big open days, I spend most of my time in the Picture Gallery. It's where the free tea and coffee is for a start, but there's also definitely worse places to spend the day. So this is where it all takes place. You kind of walk in a big, it was very much like getting, well, how I imagine getting married is, kind of entering the picture gallery, walk past all your friends and family with a diploma from the principal, right up the end by the altar in the chapel. There's a brass band at the end by the altar in the chapel. There's a brass band that kind of plays you in. It's a very weird experience. Absolutely loved it though. So much in fact that I decided to stay for an extra degree so I could do it again. Probably not the best use of another year, but you know, enjoy it that much. So we'll go and check it out. I'll try and think about some interesting things more to say about the chapel. So the chapel is actually a combination of memories. Absolutely everybody. We'll just take a little kind of gaze over to Queen Victoria's statue here. Looking nice today, which, you know, it was quite overcast and grey earlier on, but I think we've caught a break with the weather. Might as well campus. That's what could literally spend all day just doing scenic panoramas, I think, of this place. We've got some pretty cool what it looks like above this whole area. More than welcome to check those out. I think they're great fun. Watch those getting filmed, and I thought it was a little bit weird, but now I see it. It's pretty cool. So as I say, when it does come to graduation time, this is where the big procession and them staring you down from the balcony. Right, we'll go up into the definitely in this way. away with the Christmas decorations now. They're doing a couple of carol services around Christmas, get everybody in the Christmas event. Lovely, so kind of a little hidden gem, I think, in people's space, essentially as it was when the building was opened, almost 150 years ago. It hasn't really changed much. But as I say, right at the end there, up by the altar, is where you'll receive your degree, where you get your certificate. That's where it all comes to. But as I say, absolutely beautiful space. Don't come here often enough, I think. Probably most of the time I come here on my campus tours, so I get to appreciate it fairly often. We do have kind of the organ, we do have a fully kind of fully functioning, an absolutely fantastically functioning choir. So if you are interested in something like an organ choral scholarship, they are available. Just definitely check out the University Finance and Scholarship websites for more information with those. I've heard on every Wednesday there is a concert, that's the word I was looking for, which is the pitch, definitely one of my favourite places to stay. It is kind of fully kind of curated, it's very well studied, and it's used by a variety. For example, I the other week from Brian May, the guitarist of Queen, who lives nearby and has been working quite considerably with the curators of the collection, because it's very interesting Victorian artwork that's there. So as I say, they do a lot of different, very interesting events going on. Absolutely beautiful space. Holloway. Believe it or not, I've actually had a couple of exams in here as well. It's a bit of a multi-purpose room. We do have a lot of music concerts in here. A lot of our musicians get a very good use out of this room. As I say, for exams, there's a few kind of very interesting paintings in here. I will point out the kind of the fan favourite. We'll come over this side and I'll just point it out to you. So every Royal Holloway student has got one fan favourite picture. I certainly do at least. And that is one just up here called Man Proposes, God Disposes, by the artist Edwin Landseer. And it's got a bit of a cult following at Royal Holloway. It's this one just here of the polar bears. It's a little bit of a kind of a more gruesome one, but there is a story behind it. The story is that when you're doing your exams in here and you sit anywhere near this painting, it's an absolutely kind of awful curse of bad luck. You will definitely fail your exams if you sit in this painting. So the story goes. And the kind of the polar bear on the left, his eyes follow you around the room. It's a little bit disconcerting, I'll be honest. So when it does come to exam time, they cover this up with the Union Jack, so nobody can use that excuse anymore. You have to say I didn't study enough. You can't blame it on the polar bears anymore. But it depicts a failed voyage to find the Northwest Passage, so a naval route just above Canada to avoid sailing the whole way around South America. Unfortunately, it didn't end so well for these guys. They were never seen from again, and evidently this captivated Edwin Landseer and decided to paint it. The interesting thing was, though, at the time, he'd never seen a polar bear. So this is what he thinks polar bears looked like at the time, which is basically a brown bear painted white. But there you go. It's got such a cult following that our mascot is actually a polar bear, Colossus. So every sports game there's one very lucky student that dresses up as Colossus every time. I'm very jealous. But lovely. There's definitely some absolutely fantastic works of art in here. I definitely recommend if you ever do come down and visit us to check it out. Probably the most kind of artistically famous picture in the collection is this one over here, which is the Princes in the Tower by Millet. It depicts the two princes supposedly murdered. Actually went missing, but you know, we'd like to be a little bit dramatic. Supposedly murdered at the time of the War of the Roses. I can't remember which one of them it was, but one of them was in line to the throne, supposedly murdered by their uncle, so he could swoop in. But there you go. The history students will know a lot more about that than I do. I'm just biology. I'll stick with my white coat and whatever. I'll leave that to you guys. But as I say, absolutely fantastic place. We've got a very dedicated team of kind of curators that are in here every Wednesday when this collection is open to the public to answer all kind of questions and queries. And as I say, if you are interested, definitely come down and check it out for yourself. In that case, time moves on. We must keep on going. I've got a lot more campus to show you, and unfortunately, not all day. So, what's the best route to get out of here? I'll tell you what, let's check out some more. We've got some more paintings just down here, and it gives you a bit more of an idea of the character of the building. And it's in fact down this corridor that the Downton Abbey 2012 Christmas special had a scene film. There you go, that's what we're going to say.
Do you know whereabouts in Heights Need from
Lovely, so this is Victorian corridor. It's basically kind of remained pretty unchanged since the good old days. There's a lot of conference rooms back down here that are very weird in the fact that they've got 3D wallpaper. A little bit of a novelty there. Still used even now. But down here is where a lot of our student wellbeing services are placed. So we do have a very, very good collection of advisory services, counselling services, financial advice, anything that you can kind of think of along that side of supporting you through university life. It's all based down this corridor. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for all of those kind of concerns. As I say, university can be a very stressful time for a lot of people, and it's wonderful to have all of those brilliant resources to help you through right here. One thing that is definitely worth pointing out is that the Founders Building is not necessarily just an accommodation block or just kind of an art museum. It is also a home for a lot of our academic departments as well. So the Internet Security Group is kind of the area that we're in here now, and a little bit further on, Politics and International Relations are all based inside this building as well. So if you're a member of those departments, this is where a lot of your lecturers will be based. If you're doing things like having meetings or visiting the office hours or things like that, as I said, very still much a used part of the university, even though a lot of those subjects they're not entirely based here. They'll be kind of spread in a couple of different places, depending on the subject interest of the people involved. There's some more of the welfare support a little bit further down, including our disability and dyslexia services for anybody who needs those kind of support. They're all based here, including financial welfare as well. As I say, your student loan is a great opportunity to learn how to budget. And as I say, if you need any help with kind of things like that, it's all based down here. And another one off the same banner. I'm not going to say the same thing again. You know, if you really enjoyed that bit, you can. I don't know. Can you rewind and fast forward? I don't know. Maybe. But right, we're almost at the end of this corridor. Don't worry. It does get more interesting, honestly. So this here is the home of PIR, including the teaching offices. So every academic department has a teaching office, and so like every school will have a teaching office as well. And that is where you can ask a lot of your academic-based questions. They'll all be kind of available to be answered there. So for example, anything like coursework, deadlines, course-related queries with regards to things like books do I need to read even, and you don't particularly want to ask a lecturer, you're always more than welcome to pop in, they're very friendly, even will last minute help you with binding your dissertation. Don't leave it until half an hour before it's due, it's probably a bad idea. As I say, the Founders Building is a figure of 8, so although it looks like we never really left the other quad, we're actually somewhere different now. This is the Founders South quad. This is arguably the more popular quad. Unfortunately, you can't, you'll have to take that on trust. It's absolutely freezing here. But during the summertime, this is where everybody will be kind of sunbathing or whatever. This is kind of the more fun quad, I'd say. It's the really sociable one. A couple of highlights to point out. So this statue in the middle here, this is of Thomas and Jane Holloway. This is the founder of the university and his wife. It's basically the only reason that people can tell two of the quads apart when they first join is which statue's in the middle. We've also got, so where the picture gallery and the chapel were in the other quad, it's kind of mirrored over here with these two kind of high ceilinged areas. And those are the Founders Library reading rooms. So at the moment, about 100 silent study spaces in there. Try not to get too distracted. The ceiling is absolutely beautiful in there, but definitely a study space to go if you fancy really getting your head down and working hard. That is recently renovated, restored and reopened about 3 weeks ago, last time I checked, maybe about a month. Time flies when you're having fun. Also, while we're here, it's the Founders Main Lecture Theatre, and that's probably about a third or fourth biggest lecture theatre on campus. You'll probably be in there once or twice, you know. And there's one other thing that we can't quite see, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. This building is also where our summer ball takes place. So every single June, without fail, the penultimate Friday of the academic year, we have our summer ball, which is where I get an excuse to put on my tuxedo, literally looking for any excuse to wear the black tie. And it's basically our end of year celebration. Congrats on getting through the year. So about a third of the university usually attend. We have about 3,500 people packed into the south quad, the north quad, and there's usually a little fun fair just outside the gate over there. Absolutely fantastic night. Usually we always have a huge kind of headliner. This year was Rudimental, the year before that was Chasing Status. In my first year it was Example, but in the past we've had some really big acts like, for example, Lethal Bizzle came, but that was before my time. I hear some very fond stories from the alumni about how the big acts they had then have now got really, really famous, so I just get exceptionally jealous. We also host something called Formal Freshers, which is kind of like a smaller summer ball, but that's held in Freshers Week. And it's an opportunity for all of our first years, and me as a third year, you know, still pretending that I can have a little bit of fun from time to time. To kind of get the summer ball experience, that's and I remember third year. Those were headlining, and that was a real blast for the past for me. That was like my childhood favourite band, loved it. But as I say, it's a beautiful building, and we try to use it in some really creative and interesting ways. Sometimes it's like a little petting zoo, particularly on some of our summer open days. We have one of those just down on the ground here. Any excuse to use this place for something interesting. Yeah, so just outside that gate there is basically a load of kind of forest and woodland. We've got about 140 acres of parkland on campus, absolutely free for all of our students to have a little wander in. In particular out that way, there's kind of a big meadow, there's a couple of artificial lakes, absolutely stunning just to have a little walk around, particularly this time of year. And it all connects up to Windsor Great Park. So I was doing a campus tour just last week, and I'm talking about how there's sometimes deer around, and then there's 3 deer just sitting there. So there you go. Mate, I can't promise anything for today though. I think my Disney princess powers were all used up in that one go. But say, absolutely beautiful, have a little walk around. Just the other side of the road from campus as well is the college's Arboretum, which is kind of like a tree museum. Absolutely beautiful, have a little walk around there as well. It was one of the things that the Victorians really, really liked walking around before the internet, so I've been told. But as I say, this is... So I'll just point out over here, so you can kind of make out some benches over here. We'll just walk past it as we go. This is Crosslands. Now Crosslands is kind of a cafe slash bar, and it is named after the architect of the building, the chief architect, Sir William Crossland. He actually lived on campus in kind of a little cottage, the Crosslands Cottage, when he built the place, and that is where the new library stands now. He also designed the Holloway Sanatorium just a little bit down the road. See, look. I'm not even going to try talking over it. There you go, 3 o'clock. Believe it or not, you can hear that all the way down in Egham, yet when you live in the building, you never hear it. I don't know whether that's you should get used to it or the insulation's really good. Could never tell. But so we'll have a little walk past it now. So let's say Crosslands is a really, really popular spot for students to come and grab a coffee or something during daytime. They also host things like open mic nights and pub quizzes and all kind of things like that. It's kind of like our favourite student bar on campus. It's run by the college, so once again, all the bartenders and all the employees there are students as well. So I'll keep on pointing out all the spots. If you want to get a part-time job, you can get ahead of the pack. There you go, that's your reward for listening to me talk endlessly, is figuring out where the jobs are. Of course, the Student Ambassador Scheme, you know, shameless plug there for us, but there you go. I'm trying to think of some more Crosslands-based facts now. For any of the architecture buffs in the room, this isn't very Victorian, this place. It's actually modelled off of the Chateau de Chambord in France, which looks very, very strikingly similar. I'm pretty sure that he just did a copy and paste job of it, I'll be honest. But there you go, don't quote me on that. But as I say, just in case anybody's interested, that's one of the Royal Holloway facts I've got buried deep at the back of the notebook. Yeah. So we're just going to come up to the Founders Visitor Centre here. This is kind of basically, so I've got a notice boards here. So if you are particularly looking for things like weird and wonderful jobs, for example, being a tutor or something like that, or looking for what events are going on campus, is always a good place to come and, if you're passing by, have a little look at. Right here we've got the security team's office. We do have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week, 365 days a year, in fact, a security service that are always kind of on call, patrolling to make sure the campus is safe at all times. We were rated the safest university campus in England. So as I say, it's always a massive kind of plus to know that we've got a really good security team. Whatever kind of the worry is, whether you've locked yourself out of your room at midnight and you just need someone to call, that's what they're there for. We've also got the visitor centre as well, so a lot of our visitors just kind of pop in, ask a few questions about the college. If anybody fancies coming down and doing a self-led guided tour or anything like that, kind of checking out the campus, that's where you can go to and pick up a guide to the place. If anyone's getting deja vu, that is because we're basically back to where we started. We're going to take a little bit of a different route though now. We're going to bypass the big library and we're going to check out towards some of our academic departments themselves. So if you'd like to follow me, we'll waste no time. Let's have a little look. So in the background over there, you can see this kind of angular glass and metal building. That is the Windsor building. It's home to our largest lecture theatre, the Windsor Auditorium, and there's about 8 large seminar rooms in there as well. At this point, I'll kind of point out, although we do have different buildings for all of our academic departments, lecture theatres are not technically confined to just being for one academic department. Generally speaking, you'll be moving around between lectures to different lecture theatres quite often, depending on the subjects that you're doing. However, though, we don't kind of expect you to just kind of be able to run across campus in 30 seconds for the start of your next lecture. All lectures start on the hour and finish at 10 minutes to the hour to give you a chance to move from one place to the other or grab a coffee or anything like that, basically. There's no rush. Just over the other side of the road, behind the Windsor building, is our new Hall of Residence. You can't quite make it out behind the trees, maybe, from where you're standing, I don't know. But just over there, that is where the George Eliot building is. And that is our newest Hall of Residence. So that was opened up at the same time as the library in September 2017. And they're kind of big townhouses. So they either have kind of, I think it's 8 to 12 people per residence, spread out on either 3 or 4 floors. And they've just got this huge kind of kitchen diner that I'm very, very jealous of. Coming from the Founders building where I didn't have a kitchen at all in first year. But it's really nice up in there, I'm a huge fan. So definitely you can check out, we do have this kind of very weird and wonderful 3D tour of it. So you're more than welcome to check that out. All of our halls of residences are covered as well as most of the big social spaces on campus. So feel free to check that out if it's something that you haven't caught over the course of this tour. We've got a gold post box over there. It's my nan's favourite place on campus because that's where all of her birthday cards get sent from. That is because of our alumnus Sophie Christensen, who was a Paralympic equestrian. So she won 2 golds at the Olympics and already had a post box in our hometown, so decided to donate one to us. As I say, I'll take it, definitely. It's a nice kind of little interesting place in town. Down this side of the building, there's one thing that you can see in the library building that is not available from the inside, and we do have that is the branch of Santander. We just kind of see that on the corner here. Santander is kind of like the only bank that we do have on campus, but they're my personal favourite. I'm not kind of paid or anything. This is not a paid promotion. For example, I've got their 1625 rail card, which is definitely as a student something that you should look at getting. I'm really kind of like, I sound like a parent now, don't I? Save money on your rail fares, and that gets you like a third off. So I'm from Essex, so whenever I travel back home, it knocks a big chunk off kind of my travelling costs, especially if you're a commuting student or something like that, definitely give it a go. And that is located just here. We'll also get a better view of the student union shop up here on the right hand side, and this is kind of like a little one-stop shop if you're going to make a meal but you forgot your eggs or whatever. Like that's kind of the place to go. We do kind of run a shuttle bus, and it's also actually a really short walk, 15-minute walk or so, to Egham Town Centre, and that's where we have kind of our local high street. So there's a Tesco, Waitrose, Iceland, and loads of kind of like little essential stores, all down that road there. Some nice little bars and cafes and places like that. So yeah, so As I say, a lot of people, when they're doing kind of the big shop, prefer to go to the Staines for places like clothes or Windsor or places like that. As I say, there's a lot of different places to explore while you're all around here. So now we're going to come up to some more of our kind of academic spaces. So on the left-hand side of the road here, we have the computer centre, and between there and the library, there's around about 600 computers, all loaded up with university software. For example, if you're on a course that does require the extra stuff, that's all located over there. That is also 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't think you're going to need it, but you will at some point. We all do. Just over here on the right hand side, this red brick building we've got, this is the arts building, and this is where a lot of the media arts offices are located, including their teaching office. So if any of you are thinking about studying that course or within that department, it's all based over there. In fact, their editing suite is just hidden out of view behind the computer centre, so you don't have too far to walk if you fancy kind of just mooching between the two. Right next door to that, we do have the Moore building here. So this is this kind of colourful glass and metal construction over here, and this is the home of the School of Management. So as I say, it's probably one of our most popular degree subjects here. We've got all the kind of, I don't know if you can make them out on the video here. We've got all these little seminar rooms just on the ground floor, and they are all for kind of your seminars and your workshops that you have after your lectures in small groups. They're kind of well fitted out with TVs, computers and whatever for kind of group discussion and making group presentations. This building here on the right, this is the law academic offices, so if you're studying that, this is kind of your one-stop shop for all of your questions there. This big bowl, this bit that looks like it should have a telescope in it on the end here, this is the Moore building lecture theatre. As I say, everybody has lectures in there. It's a lovely little space. It's where I did my big third-year presentation on my project. That was kind of my big part of my degree, and that was done there. This building here on the your right-hand side, my left-hand side, this is the McRae building, and this is the home of history, mathematics, computer science, and information security. However, we'll keep on walking up because there is, on the right-hand side, the old library. I say the old library, it's not very old, but we've got a new one now. So that is the Bedford building, and that is currently vacant because the new library kind of took precedence, and now the kind of consistently growing computer sciences department are going to be moving over to there. I believe the current date is April of next year. So as I say, if any of you guys are thinking of joining us for computer science, you'll have a much more space, nice and newly renovated. Yeah. No lecture theatres in this one, just kind of small seminar rooms. Reflects a lot of the teaching styles of those academic departments where in your second and third years you take very specialised subjects and specialised modules, and as a result the teaching class size decreases. Even in biology I used to have some lectures that were only 10 people, and there's not anywhere near as many options as there are for some of those degrees there. We've got a few more departments up here to show you guys. You can kind of see one ominous one over there on the left-hand side. We'll get to that in a second. Just up here on the right-hand side, actually, is where that kind of the older library building was that I mentioned. And we've also got another red brick building just coming into view here around the corner. This is the Horton building. So this is the home of economics. They've got a couple of smaller lecture theatres, which they are fiercely defensive of. I've never been in them. Mostly tend to be kept for their own departmental teaching, but there's a PC lab in there as well for anybody to use. As I say, just down the end there, that's where the Bedford building is, and we'll kind of see it from behind, but that is also where the biology department is based. The Bourne Laboratories is all just down there. We'll come at that from a different angle. We can't quite get a view of it from up here. Oh, so we'll keep on walking down towards some more of the fun stuff. So, believe it or not, I don't know who designed it and who thought it would be a fantastic idea, but there's a footbridge that links the Horton building of economics to the physics department. Two very similar departments, two very similar interests, but there you go. So you can walk all the way from there to all the way down to by the Students' Union without going outside on a rainy day. There you go. Just try not to get lost in physics. I do 95% of the time. But so this building kind of snaking down the hill here, this is the Wilson Talansky Laboratories, and this is the home of the physics department. Now, on the left-hand side of the road here, you'll kind of see two very tall chimneys coming in from behind the trees. We'll walk up a little bit further, we'll get a better view of it. But I'll start talking about it now because I can't think of anything else. This is the boiler house. So when the Founders Building was first constructed, somebody had to heat up all the water for our lovely Victorian ladies to draw a nice bath. And at the time, there were no immersion heaters. So that was all done in these big coal-fired chimney stacks, and this is where all the water was boiled, hence the boiler house. Nowadays, we don't quite need the chimneys. So this has been turned into our second biggest lecture theatre, a large seminar room and a dance rehearsal space. You can also make out a very kind of pointy bit of the roof over there. You'll see a little bit better as we come down the hill. But that is the Boiler House Cafe. Lovely little place to kind of stop and have lunch or grab a coffee. If you are counting the amount of cafes that we've seen so far, we're currently on 3. I always keep tabs on going round. But as I say, it's very, very nice in there, do some great stuff for lunch. Now, behind us with this banner on it, this kind of brick and wood building here, this is the International Building. So if anybody's thinking about doing something like English or liberal arts or a degree within the School of Modern Languages, Literature and Culture, that is all based within that building there. Lots of very kind of small seminar rooms, once again reflecting the nature of those degrees. And it's where those subjects teaching officers are as well. So if you've got any questions, that's the place to go to. It's also the home of our international student support teams. So if you are watching this from abroad, thank goodness I've gone international. There you go. I don't know. What is it YouTubers do? Put your country in the comments or something. I don't know. But say if you do need things like visa support or when you arrive registering with the police, anything like that, that is all managed by a dedicated team in this building over here. Very nice to have. As I say, Royal Holloway is a very international university. Last time I checked, just about a quarter of our students were from outside of the European Union. So we've got a very kind of, I think about 130 different nationalities get involved with kind of sports and societies. I lose track. There's a lot of countries. Let's say. And what we're coming up to here just now is the Royal Holloway Students' Union. So the Students' Union is a big part of every single university. Every university has one, just every student union works a little bit differently. So our one is by day a kind of a burger restaurant, a cafe, and a kind of a really nice kind of seating study area. And on a Wednesday night and a Friday night, it is our on-campus nightclub. Very, very popular with the students because only Royal Holloway students and their guests can come in. It's a very kind of safe and enjoyable night out. They're always throwing kind of different themed events, things like that. And I say, it's kind of like really nice and convenient. They even run a service called the Union Bus, which is kind of a shuttle bus to take you home at the end of nights out to the local area. So when you do, well, most people choose to move out of university accommodation in their second and third years, they can drop you off home as well. Speaking of which, there is a load of dedicated support members of staff within the Students' Union, so they're completely detached from the college to offer support in things like finance, but also finding houses, contract checking for when you're renting for the first time if you choose to do so. And it's also where our sports teams and societies are all based. So we've got about 140, 150 different sports teams and societies. I can't be more precise than that because I swear there's a new one opening up every week these days. We've already had 7 new societies open up this term. And basically the Students' Union funds all of those. They will buy sports kits, they will buy any kind of equipment that's required. You can use those minibuses that I mentioned to travel to sports fixtures or things like that. And say it's a really great support network to have. But as I say, every university does have a Students' Union. We really like ours here. Once again, it's a big kind of area of part-time employment on campus. So they employ about 250 to 300 students a year in different roles such as bartending, security staff for the nights out, if you're interested in working in the tech crew, if you want to drive the minibus that I keep on harping on about all the time. Also working in the shop at the top, help desk assistants, graphic designers. There's a little bit of something for everybody here. Lovely place to work, and as I say, you get some really good experiences out of it as well. Right, so we'll have a little wander through. Every Tuesday there's a food market here, so there'll be fruit and vegetables on the inside and pastries and things like that. And then on the outside there's loads of hot food vendors from different international cuisines. My favourite is the Greek, I'll be honest, but they do everything kind of Chinese, Indian, they do kind of Spanish paella stuff, they do German bratwurst, a little bit of everything. It's really nice to come down on Tuesdays. The only day a week I don't bother making a packed lunch, you know, because I know I'm definitely going to have something weird and wonderful in the food market. So we've obviously got the RHSU sign that everybody has a photo taken by. It's just tradition, but there you go. So this kind of big seating area out here is kind of very freshly done. It was just opened up in, I believe, the beginning of last academic year, so September 2017. That's when all the building work stopped. We decided no more forklifts and diggers on campus after that. But as I say, it's really nice to see the college putting a lot of money into the development of new services for us. Unfortunately, a lot of them came while I was still here and still turning up. So you guys get to reap all the benefits. So this kind of concrete building over here that you can just see behind the kind of the bit of the hill, that is the biology department. It's actually the physically largest building for our departments on campus. They've got a couple of lecture theatres in there, so even as a classicist, for example, you might be in there from time to time. Can't make any guarantees, but it's just where all the laboratories are based as well. So we just go down these stairs here. I'm going to warn you, right? There's nothing much interesting on this corner. So I'm going to try and make something interesting up, but I can't make any guarantees. Actually, I thought something, scrap all of it. So, just up here on the left-hand side, you won't be able to see it because unfortunately it's a couple of minutes walk away, but that is where the drama department is based. So we've got the Catherine Worth building and the Carroll Churchill Theatre, and they're both part of our drama department. So if anybody's thinking about doing something as drama, theatre, dance, a lot of your academic sessions, a lot of your lectures, most certainly your performances and your kind of departmental teaching offices are all going to be based over that side of the road over there, about a 2-minute walk away over the footbridge.
Look at you, mate.
So, I've already used that interesting fact now for this whole bit. But as I say, that's kind of where the Arboretum is as well, just kind of over there in that little corner. Yeah, I don't go over there too much, I'll be honest with you. Biology and drama, dance and theatre don't often go too well together. But I did start off, I was in the Musical Theatre Society, first term of my first year, before I got all my part-time jobs and my free time suddenly evaporated. But they do a lot of performances in the theatre over there as well as in the Students' Union main hall. So we do have a very active kind of society-based amateur dramatics kind of group of societies. I think 7 off the top of my head. But there's everything from kind of stand-up comedy to a cappella singing, to all of your traditional kind of drama, Shakespeare, a little bit of everything. And they're all based kind of between the Students' Union and the actual drama departments themselves. Keep on coming up. We've got 3 more academic departments to go. They keep on building new things and I have to keep on changing my script. There you go. But so, on this right-hand side of the road here, we have the psychology department. This is the building. I don't go in there too much, I'll be honest, but it's the same. And then here on the left-hand side, this entire complex here is the Queen's Building, and this is geology and earth sciences. Right, so, trying to think about anything interesting to say while we're just kind of stuck around here. As I say, so this is kind of the bottom of the hill. Believe it or not, basically every university in the country is built on a hill. I think it's a rule. When you make a university, you have to do it that way. So we're coming down towards the bottom of the hill now. So I hope you bring your walking shoes if you do come along. Yeah, so on the bright side though, it does mean that we get an absolutely beautiful view from where we are. So I'm not going to let the truck go past. Unfortunately, this is a living, breathing, working campus, so obviously not prime live film location all the time. But as I say, you can actually those departments that I mentioned a little bit earlier on, as well as one that kind of sticks out in the distance. I'd definitely say we'll work up to that. You know, we'll give it a bit of a build-up. Yeah. So the Queen's Building it's actually got a big lecture theatre in it. It's, I think, our 3rd biggest lecture theatre. So we've seen the top 4 now. There you go, just in case anyone's counting again. Yeah, I hope you're all taking notes. There will be a quiz at the end. But there's a big lecture theatre in there. As a biologist, I didn't get any lectures in the actual biology building until my 2nd year, because all of them were in there. So we're getting closer to the end, but there's still a few more things to see. So, after all this build-up, so this very, very kind of ominous, modern-looking building over here. This is the Beatrice Schilling building. This opened up in, I believe, August of this year. Just before term started, I got to have a little sneak peek around. And this is the new home of our electronic engineering department. So that's a very new department to us. I think only 2 years ago, their oldest students are currently in their 2nd years of their undergraduate degrees. And to build their new home, they had this. It's completely full of all brand new state-of-the-art equipment as well. I'm going to be honest with you, I'll take their word for it because I wouldn't know what I'm looking for, but I've got to play around with it on a couple of visits before, and it's pretty cool. But as I say, absolutely stunning department. A lot of kind of social areas in it as well nowadays. Believe it or not, you don't always work best when you're just stuck in the library day in, day out, kind of head down, not taking any breaks. And the universities over time kind of acknowledge that, and as a result in this building there's kind of creative spaces, there's loads of plush furniture and bean bags, all stuff like that. It's very much relaxed. You don't always feel like you're doing as much work when you do that. You know, you have more fun while you do it. And that's what that building's for. So Beatrice Schilling, there is every new building on campus, there is a naming competition. Beatrice Schilling won this one. She was a female British engineer, designed part of the Spitfire engine and was heavily involved in motorcycle design, I believe. The Emily Wilding Davison building, for example, the other new big building on campus, that is named after a former student of ours, Emily Wilding Davison, who was a former student of ours, suffragette who was hit by the King's Horse at the 1913 Epsom Derby in the name of getting women the vote. And her actions definitely kind of spurred the women's suffrage movement on. And in kind of recognition of her and the values of the college and our student body, I decided to name it after her. Proving that you do get points for coming second, the person that was the runner-up in that competition was George Eliot, the author of Middlemarch, for example. The English students will know a lot more about her than I do, but she was a female author that wrote under a pseudonym because female authors were not very well respected by the critics in those days. So there you go. And I say, she was a former student of the Bedford College, our sister college in London, and named it after her. So we have now officially run out of academic departments. So the area that we're coming up to now, we kind of just refer to as the hub area. So this is where a lot of our accommodation is based. So I'll kind of point them out as we go, and we'll go through their specifications. So just after this car goes past, on the left-hand side here, this red brick building, we've got Reed. Now, Reed is a single bed, ensuite, catered accommodation block. So you all kind of have little pantries, kind of like office kitchenettes. So it's like a kitchen, but it doesn't have a hob or an oven. And they eat in the founders' dining hall or in the hub just behind me. Then we've got Williamson. There's 5 halls that are essentially identical in every way. Williamson, Butler, Chooke, Gower and Wedderburn. Now the 5 of them are all double bed, ensuite, self-catered. So you get your own bathroom, you get a larger bed, and everybody gets a kitchen. Not to themselves, you share with 8 people. I couldn't imagine having my own kitchen, that'd just be too much luxury for me. But just to confuse you, we decided to split them up into 5 different buildings and name them 5 different things. But they're all exactly the same. If you do come on an open day, we'll show you around one of them. For example, that's representative of the whole bunch. And that light brick building, you might just be able to make out down the bottom there, that is Runnymede. Now Runnymede is a single bed, ensuite, self-catered block in flats of 6. It's basically exactly the same as the 5 that I just mentioned, but it's slightly older and you've got the single bed, and as a result it's a bit cheaper. Behind us, this kind of low white building here, this is the hub itself. So the hub is a kind of dining hall slash canteen, and inside it there's 2 cafes as well, grab and go. The idea being you kind of grab your coffee and get out of there. And there's also Imagine downstairs, which has got loads of kind of bean bags, and it serves bubble tea and all things like that. So it's a bit more chilled out. So as I say, if you are counting cafes again, we are now on 6. If you follow this road, this is kind of the main road that goes through campus. If you follow it just down the bottom here, you get towards the back gate, which is the main way of getting onto campus from the train station and from the Egham Town Centre, which is around about a 10-15 minute walk away from here once you figure out where you're going. I definitely use Google Maps your first time, don't take any chances. But down there is also where our sports centre is. We are the only University of London college to have all of our sports facilities on site. You don't have to kind of get a bus, coach or walk anywhere to get to them. We've just had our gym completely refurbished in time for the 2018-2019 academic year. Looks absolutely fantastic. Might even entice me to get a membership one of these days. Just in case my parents are watching, I'm definitely still keeping fit, okay, and eating healthy. But that's all based down there. The only thing we don't have is a swimming pool, unfortunately. If that is of concern to everybody, we do have the Swimming Society, and they take the Union minibuses from the Students' Union, and they drive just down the road to Spelthorne, around about a 10-minute drive, and they hire the pool out there, and they do formal training sessions there instead. So that's all down there. Just down this road here, this is where Gower and Wedderburn are, so 2 more of the double bed ensuite accommodation blocks. And you can kind of just see it creeping into view there down the bottom of the hill, but that kind of grey building down there, that is Medicine. Medicine is another Students' Union run venue, so once again all the employees, everything is all students of Royal Holloway, and that has just been refurbished. It's another kind of little nightclub slash sports bar, and it's got a capacity of around about 1,000 people, so it's slightly smaller than the Students' Union, but brand newer. So, do you know what? I feel I've run out of things to show you. I'll be honest with you. So this path behind me here, this kind of is the back way, and it cuts up towards where the Founders Building and the library are. So it kind of would bring us in a full circle. And this is the kind of big bit of forest that I was talking to you guys about earlier. So in all honesty, that brings me to the end of my tour. So thank you guys very much for listening in, putting up with me for however long this has been. Feels like an eternity, I'll be honest. Very weird being on this side of the camera. But as I say, thank you very much for the time. Best of luck with your kind of onward journey. I'd love to see you guys maybe at Royal Holloway if I decide to stick around for another year. But as I say, the best of luck with everything to come. And thank you very much for joining us today. If you do have any further questions, we do have all of our subject-specific ambassadors and members of department all available for you guys to talk to. If you've got any questions about campus specifically or the Students' Union, we do have representatives from those areas. So please do get in touch if you've got any question whatsoever. There's no question too stupid to ask, in all honesty. But there you go. As I say, make the most out of the opportunity that you have. I'd love it if you guys came down to visit us in the new year. But as I say, thank you very much for your time, guys, and good luck with the rest of your journey. Cheers.